Hey, I'm Piera,
And I'm Harlee.
and we're casually
Mental.
mental. That was like a little singing. Is that a
It,
positive thing or no?
I guess. I mean, it feels like a minute since I've actually gotten to say mental. I don't know why it feels like a minute. I guess because we had a guest on last week, but I like froze as it was happening and I didn't know what to say. So I don't know. For some reason, like singing it made sense at the time.
Great, I love that. Yeah, I saw you like stall. You're like, I'm Harley. Who
I was
am
like,
I?
I don't know who I am anymore.
Actually that's kind of perfect for today's topic.
I
Actually,
mean, yeah. Do you want to introduce it? I'll let you do it.
yeah, I'll introduce it. So just to give some context, both Harley and I have been like moving around, living in different places, and being a little nomadic. And we're back in our usual locations in the world. um, and I was thinking about like self reflection and growth and all of that kind of stuff. And I was talking to a friend yesterday because I was slightly spiraling a little bit of like life, blah. So there's that. And so it was good because I called on a friend for support, which I previously would never have done, and that is growth. But
Growth.
she said something, yeah. She said something that really stuck with me. I wrote it down, so like it definitely means something if I add it to my notes app. So I wanted to share it with everybody just in case you're, wherever you are in your self growth journey or healing or trying to figure out who you are. So she said, your growth is like a mirror to your friends. Growth is contagious. It's like you're opening the windows to what you're experiencing, and it's like a chain reaction. And when you notice the growth within you and you bring that to the people around you, um, it kind of makes it more inclusive because healing and self growth is by nature selfish because it's all internal and you're working on yourself. But it's really nice because we were sharing like a lot of life things, and she's like, it's really nice to know that you're supported and you're not alone and you don't have to do it by yourself. So I feel like it's very timely. I wanted to share that with anyone if that's helpful wherever you are in your journey. And that's what today's topic is going to be about, of just like reflecting on yourself, how far you've come, and like then letting go of that self, which is, I think, the hardest thing because you're so attuned to that life.
I agree. I mean, I love that quote, and I feel like one of the things is ever since I started my, self journey back in around COVID, I feel like since then, I mean, that me and you met as I started my journey too, and it's interesting because as you grow in your path, some people, you start to lose some friends, but you also start to gain some friends that are in the same place as you. And in a weird way, like one of the things that always kind of like jives me is the fact that like I have a hard time like losing friends, but I also realize like I'm not the person I used to be. Like I used to drink a lot and I used to consistently party. Like now I'm very happy just sitting at my house watching TV. And so it's like, or just like being alone, And so, I mean, there's definitely people you find on your path that don't necessarily like the growth because they're maybe not at your point and they kind of hold you back, and you hope that someday that they'll catch up to you. But I do find most of the people that like have stayed my friends through a lifetime are also on the same journey where we're all just trying to do better and be better and stay on our own path and understand that like we're all on our own path and we're all just trying to be the best selves that we can be for each other and ourselves. So it's just interesting, yeah, overall I think that quote's definitely interesting. And it's also funny to say, but I think this is one of the first times, because we always say that you are learning something, you've learned something a little bit before me, but I almost feel like this is the first time where I actually might be a little bit ahead of you.
I think I'm just getting ahead of myself of like, this is where I'm starting from. So I'm hitting a milestone next week. I'll be living in LA for 8 years. And mind you, I didn't think I'd be here this long. I thought I'd be here 2 years max. I never thought I'd leave New York City ever. now I don't want to go back. Maybe, I don't know. And like letting go of, again, zero expectations is my motto for life, but it's like also I want to set expectations for my, like future planning, life 5-year plan, whatever. I don't ever do that because I have always been fight or flight mode of surviving. And so now I'm at this point where I'm finally standing still after months of like moving around. And so it's kind of hit me at once of like, oh my God, I've been here for 8 years. What am I doing next? What do I want to do next? Where do I want to go? What accomplishments do I want to hit? And so it's kind of future tripping a little bit. So it was really helpful to talk to Harlee and be like, oh, calm down, like one day at a time. And I also did, because I'm a little bit more spiritual than Harlee, I did an Akashic reading.
I don't even know what that is.
The best way I can describe it, I'm sure if you like search it, there's a proper like philosophical definition, but essentially it's a person who um is a translator for you and like your spirit guides. And so there's like this book and this, I don't know what the book looks like, but because it's all audio. And she's like, I'm opening the books, and she's like opening her third eye essentially and being like, this is what your guides are like showing you. There's like symbolism and visuals, and like you're closing your eyes. It's a lot of meditation and like just sitting. Like sitting is very uncomfortable when you're like anxious to get to the next spot. So it was like a forceful, like, chill out. This is where you're at. And what was funny is I was trying to get all these answers, and she's like, I feel your anxiety, and like I want that answer too. And she's like, but it feels like you have to sit in this uncomfortable moment. And then I got a ton of questions. I got like at least 10 questions from my guides. I was like, not helpful, y'all. Not helpful. I want answers, not more questions. But I got a lot of really great questions to now reflect on probably this weekend, because I was like, where do I live next? I didn't plan to live in LA. It kind of just, I felt it. And I don't, like, I'm like, when's the next feeling going to come? But it hasn't. So I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. But
No, I
the
mean,
question I got,
that's what
yeah, go
we
ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say that's what we talked about too, though, is like the fact that both of us pretty much went on these long trips because we didn't want to be in LA anymore. And we were like, where is our soul trying to tell us where to be? And it's funny because, and this is why I'm a little bit ahead of Piera, only because I like had my mental breakdown already. And also, I like really, really missed LA, like coming back and being in this weather and just being around my friends. It, it was interesting because I've been watching the new John Wilson, How to with John Wilson episodes on HBO. Oh my God, if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. But he had
So
one
good.
about like public toilets in New York and just being happy with what you have, which is hilarious because if you've ever tried to pee in New York, it's like the hardest thing. And in the end, he like goes through this whole thing. And I was like, oh, wow, like that's kind of like my LA journey. Like I had to go to all these other places to experience all these other things to realize like, what I actually have here is wonderful. Anyways, let's talk about your questions because I'm curious. I just had to throw in my little like 2 cents of the situation because I feel like me and you had this conversation, so we know exactly what each other is going
Yeah.
on. But like, so the audience can catch up with what we both talked about.
What's in our
Now I want to
brain?
hear your questions because I'm curious I'm curious what they asked you.
So I have
Oh, we have a notepad.
a whole notepad. I mean, she recorded it, thankfully, because like half of it, you're just so present. But I wrote down the questions, which were, do you feel expansive still in LA? Do you feel like you could learn more? This can apply to anybody if you're trying to move, by the way, or like you're feeling sort like a little antsy. Is, do you feel expansive where you are? Have you learned all that you could learn in this space, or is there more that you feel like you could learn? And have you outgrown it? And like, where's that feeling coming from? And then a very uncomfortable question, which I can't wait to answer, I guess, because I love uncomfortable questions, is how are you afraid of being seen? And so much of like self growth is like reflecting on yourself and being vulnerable. I think doing this podcast, I'm being for sure seen. Like I'm using my voice and sharing my thoughts and everything. And I'm like, I'm a little less afraid, but there's still parts of me that's like hiding. I don't know. I might do an improv class. I feel like that's something I should do. I don't want to. I'm scared, but I feel like that would
That'd be
like
fun.
not fix everything, but like be a good thing to do.
In a
Have you ever
weird
done
way,
one?
this is my improv class. No, but this is my improv class. I don't know if I'd ever do stand up just because I'm like so not that
It's
no one's
tough.
busy. I just like don't have the time to like I can barely show up to like workout classes. Like I yeah. So this is my place to practice stand up. Feel free to join in. I mean, I think we both are. I don't know. We're funny. We're funny.
We're
Hopefully, people
funny.
laugh at
Yeah.
some of the things we say. I don't
Right?
know.
Yeah. I think I've been told I'm funny. I've had a lot of backhanded compliments from people who like I'm pretty quiet. Otherwise, like I speak when I have something I want to say. But anytime I've spoken to people in the past, I don't think this is actually a compliment, but a couple of people when I used to work in person at other companies, they'd be like, "Wow, you're really funny," and I'm like, am I supposed to like be that outward? They're like, "Oh, I didn't realize like you were funny," or like, "Oh, wow, you've got like a really great personality." I'm like, "Thank you." Like, what is that? Does it look like I don't? I don't
No.
know. But
I just think those are the people that like I think people just like don't take the time to get to know each other anymore. Like I really don't. And that's one of the things I also love is like getting to know yourself like through other people. And to be honest, that's why I love traveling because I find that it puts you in situations that like when you're in your comfort zone, you can't really figure out because you're just so stuck in your comfort zone. And I mean for me, I think I thrive the best when I'm not in my comfort zone and like I almost have to like just go with it. And so I don't know. I mean, I think it could go either way because sometimes people tell me that like I talk too much or I'm too loud or they're like I didn't realize you talk so much. And I'm like, "Okay, well, don't be my
what a
friend then.
comment.
Like, F off." I don't give a shit. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's taken me a really long time to appreciate who I am, and I think now I'm in the process of appreciating where I am, and that and coming back to our topic, like we were both planning on moving. I wasn't necessarily happy with what I had, and then taking a step back and like going to other countries and also being separated from my friends and my family for a while, like it was it was hard. And like I usually don't like hanging out with people. Like I'm a homebody now. Ironically went from a party girl to a homebody, but I found myself like being like, "Oh, you want to get drinks? Let's go out. Let's like," but like I don't want to go party. Like when I was in Paris, we'd like sit outside and get drinks. And I'm like, "Oh, I want to party so bad." But coming back home and being around my friends, I'm like, "Oh, I get it. Like I enjoy the weather. I enjoy my friends that are here. I have my spots that I love." But one of the things that we're talking about getting out of your comfort zone and growing, exactly what you said in your notes too, was like I told this up here the other day. I'm like, why don't we go hang out in like other neighborhoods in LA? I literally don't leave Silver Lake. Like I or like Echo Park or Highland Park. Like and even Highland Park, like I don't go to enough. So I'm like, why don't I try to new venues? Why don't I try new things? Like LA is such a big area and I am like just using like this amount of the area, like a tiny amount of like what I know. And so it's like if I enjoy traveling, and this is what I always tell myself, but like if I enjoy traveling so much, but I love it here, why don't I put that same effort into LA and like and experiment with other places? Like you can get an Airbnb with some friends in Malibu, you know,
Yeah.
and
And it's way
expand like
less
for like a
pricey.
weekend.
Yeah, and it's way less
What?
pricey than like a flight to international flight.
Yeah, and it's like there's so many things. It's like sometimes you almost have to leave in order to appreciate what you have or take away what you have in order to appreciate it. And going back to the episode, like it's funny because you realize, or as Joni Mitchell would say, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And it is true. Like we get so obsessed with like looking to the future and trying to figure out what's next for us. We forget to like live in the moment and just try to like figure out what's happening currently. And literally like when you told me to take it one step at a time, like I really took a step back and I was like I mean, even for me, like while I was on my trip, I signed one of my biggest name clients, which if you follow me on Instagram, you'll soon find out who it is. And I also signed one of my like biggest just clients in general, not like name wise, but just like with the amount of work I'm gonna about to do for them. And it's interesting because I started freaking out because I'm like, this is too much. I'm taking because I also have all my like OG clients that I love, and I'm like, I'm taking on too much. Like, what's gonna happen? Yada yada. And my partner was like, listen, like you haven't even gotten there yet. Like you literally you haven't even like take and he was also like take everything day by day too. And so it's like exactly the same thing like day by day. Like you cannot accomplish anything especially when you're in your head if you're not taking things day by day. And I started kind of chopping it up as like okay, in this day I might work really hard and I might feel like I have too much work and I might be spinning out of control because I worked from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., you know? But like
Yeah.
that might not happen the next day. And all we can really do is just take on things and hope for the best. And if we can't like do it anymore, then like once it stops serving you, then like take it out. But like, I don't know. I was living so much in the future. Like I was consistently future tripping. And I feel like in this moment, and I think maybe that's like the mental thing too, because like things aren't amazing for me. Like I literally just lost two family members. I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with like a bunch of family shit right now that's behind the scenes that to be honest I'm not comfortable talking about yet. Actually, I
Hmm.
will say though that on our previous episode when we talked about family and everything, I did finally have a conversation with my dad about his estranged brother.
Oh.
And the irony is that I learned a lot from that conversation too because another sorry, I'm rambling, but one more thing and then I'm going to pass the ball back
And
to
then
you,
shut the
Piera.
fuck up.
I
I'm
talk
just
too
kidding.
much. I mean, I know I do. So, oh my god, and this I think this is the first time you cussed on our podcast.
No, it's not.
Oh my
I
god.
only know
Anyway,
because I edit our social reels and I need to do the little bleep
bleep it out.
button.
But no, one of the other things, especially because I lost two people in my family that one was estranged as you if you guys haven't listened to the episode, I would definitely suggest because that's probably one of our most real ones. And then I lost my aunt too, randomly, because I won't even get there, but I did not expect that death. And I'd actually been like planning on texting both of them. And one of the things you realize is like you don't realize what you have until it's gone.
Hmm.
And so I felt a lot of remorse for not being able to talk to them anymore. And it's the same thing. Like it all goes back to like taking everything day by day. Like if there's something that comes into your mind where you're like, I'll put it off, like don't put it off. Talk to people, sit with yourself, ask yourself why you're feeling that. Like take everything day by day, but also like check in with yourself day by day and see like what you're feeling. Because to be honest, like there's multiple days where I was like, text your aunt. And I just didn't. It takes 5 freaking seconds, you know? And
Hmm.
so if it comes into your head, just like do it and appreciate what you have because like you can instantly lose it too. And that's why I think just taking things day by day is so important.
Yeah,
On to you,
that's
Piera.
well, that's why I do my five gratitudes every day, just to like level set. Like I literally am grateful for hot, clean water. Like as you know, like when you go camping, I'm always like, thank God, like I have a working toilet, like luxury.
That, yes.
And like when I was in Italy, I was like, oh, I'm so thankful for like two pillows because over there they have like one flat one, and I'm just like, oh my God, luxury, two pillows. But I will say something
Wi-Fi.
that you Wi-Fi. Oh my God. One of the things that you said kind of brought up a lot of notes. A lot of notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's a lot of notes.
She has a notepad in front of her.
It's a large legal pad. It's not like a little cute notebook. It's large. It's like it's bigger than my face. It says, it's funny because I'm talking about being present and like not future tripping. I was being a little nostalgic, a little too nostalgic, I think. And just being like, oh wow, like I went out, I was more social back in the day, and it's like we've been through a global pandemic. Like things have changed. A lot of people in my life who I thought be friends forever we're no longer friends, or people I didn't think we would be close are now like texting me way more often. So the thing that came up is reflect on where you are right now, who you are right now, and who do you want to be in the future. Like, how do you want to feel in the future? Less so like, I want to have 10 clients, like less so of a checklist and more so of a feeling, which I thought was really helpful, because I was just like, oh man, I really like had myself together. I had a job, I had a routine, I had this. And it's like, life changes. Every day is different. Some days you'll feel 100%, some days you'll like feel 10. It's okay. It ebbs and flows. And I don't know, it got me really reflecting on the friendships, and you saying that you had that calling to text and then you didn't. I think that's really important. I think we should tell the people who we love, if we're thinking about them, to like text them. Like, my biggest thing that I was just kind of thinking on before coming on talking today is like, I have friends and I always send people like birthday cards, like physical, like snail mail. Like, I am like an 80-year-old woman. I'm like, I'm gonna go
I
to
love
the
it.
mailbox and like that. I love that. I take pleasure in that, because I'm like, oh my god, my friend is gonna think they have a bill or it's spam or whatever, but it's a birthday card, like something to look forward to. And it's funny because like 2 years ago, I like broke up with somebody, and my friends like sent me birthday gifts. Like, I don't know, I think they like were pitying me, which is fine. But the next year, I didn't get like anything. It was just like a text. And I'm like, you don't need to send me anything, but like making people feel seen and like acknowledged. I think that's a really big thing in the self reflection, because you're acknowledging yourself, but also like, again, to the beginning, like opening statement that my friend said, it's like, it's nice when you bring your friends with you and you're showing like, this is where I'm at. Like, even if you text your friend today, like whoever's listening, if there's someone you haven't spoken to in a minute, or someone you talk to every day, it doesn't really matter. I guess it's whoever you feel called to text or call. Just be like, hey, how are you? I'm thinking of you. You don't need to reply, but like, heart emojis. Like, I think we overcomplicate those sorts of things of like how, what the, I don't know, etiquette is, I guess. But I've been really thinking about the relationships in my life, and like what you were saying of like, I used to party, and like the people I used to party with, like I don't really talk to them anymore. And it's interesting, the people who come in and out of our lives, and are they a lesson, or are they teaching you something, or are they like guiding you? I don't know, it's all really very fascinating to me.
Okay, so one of the things that I like think about all the time, and it again, it's someone else that had to teach me it, but I went to Amsterdam with this guy, right? And like I thought that things were going to go great, and they didn't, and it sucked. And I had to do a lot of self-reflection. And I remember one of the nights before I left, we were like not really talking at this point, and he wanted to go to bed, and I like couldn't sleep cuz I was upset. And the last episode of BoJack Horseman was on, and like BoJack and this girl are sitting on top of the roof, and she's literally like, sometimes it's so crazy that this came on while I'm like having this moment too, which is why I think everything
Life,
happens for a
man.
reason.
Yes.
But um but it said like sometimes people come into your life for a reason, and they don't necessarily, sometimes people don't stay long, sometimes people do. And that was really interesting to me, because if it wasn't for him dragging me back to Amsterdam, like, I mean, literally my life has like literally changed. Like, I met somebody in Amsterdam that like really pushed me on a better path to like quit my job and start freelancing and be a little bit more free. And I don't think I would have ever done that if I hadn't gone through like this whole process. And so like, yeah, like it was a really dark time for me, but like hearing again like a TV show give me advice, like it was so crazy to think about. And so now whenever people come into my life for whatever purpose, if there's something happening or whatever's happening or they leave, I'm like, maybe there was a point for them to be in my life for that period. And like, it's not to be like mad at them. Like, to be honest, if he wanted to be my friend, I would be his friend. I don't really know where our friendship stands, but
It's
like
a
for
two-way
me, it was,
street.
Yeah, for me, he unfollowed me on Instagram, I saw. So when I was trying to message for, anyways, that's a whole other
There's your
thing.
answer.
But that being said, like I'm not upset. Like in a way, like even though we got in a fight at the end and all this bad stuff happened, like if it wasn't for that moment in life, I would have never learned that like people can come and go. And speaking of texting your friends and checking on them and everything, I actually I have a friend that's been my friend since I moved here, and we got in a really big fight before I left. And I'm not like, I don't really like fighting with friends. It's not really my thing, but I was really upset. And we didn't talk for most of my trip. And after my aunt passed away, and, I had been wanting to like text her and just tell her I love her, even though, like, there's some things we still need to work out. But like, I do love her because we've been friends for so long and like we've gone through so much together, So I texted her and I was just like, I know we haven't been speaking, but I love you. And, when I get back, hopefully we'll chat through. And she texted me back too. And to be honest, like, I'm not saying that like things are the most peachy green for both of us right now, but like it, I do feel solace in like the fact that I thought about it. I texted her. I got the response that I wanted. There's obviously going to be some things that we need to like work out moving forward, but I don't know, just like it's so stupid to say, but tell your friends you love them, appreciate what you have, and realize that people come on your path, whether it's good or bad, to get you somewhere else, and to take like everything as kind of like a blessing in disguise. Quote.
A
That's my
thousand
quote.
percent. That's your quote. That's good. I mean, I love that. And yeah, this whole, I mean, it's all about self-reflection and reassessing like who is in your life and how you feel with them, and if they bring out the better sides of you or sides you didn't know exist, and kind of being okay with, I think we're just not taught to like break up with friends, but like letting go of those people who like are toxic. And again, it kind of goes to boundary settings of like, you no longer want this sort of like energy in your life. I call them energy vampires, but yeah, that's what happens when you self-reflect.
I hope that people can take some of this knowledge and just kind of apply it. I think that it's funny because we kind of came in here about talking about letting our past selves go, but in a weird way. We almost talked about like more of like future tripping and like how to just be more present. And I think that if anybody can leave this episode, I think letting go of our past selves is literally like letting go of the future tripping and just accepting with where we are and who we are and how we are getting through life, and just give yourself some credit that you've made it this far.
Yeah, go in the mirror today, look at yourself in the mirror today and say, you've come so far, you've overcome things you didn't think
I'm
you could
proud of you.
overcome. I'm proud of you, I love you. What else? Yeah, I mean, look, you in the darkest moments you're like, how am I going to get out of this? And then you somehow do, because you're strong and you're amazing. So if there's anything you take away from today, is look at yourself in the mirror, say it out loud or to yourself, if like you have a lot of roommates, like all these things that you want to say to yourself. And so we're all on this journey together, and we're not alone. You've got a support system. Reach out to somebody today. And yeah, that's all I got.
Tell everyone you love them, that you love. And that is it. I think we can end this, sign off on this podcast now.
Yeah, I
And
think so.
I would love if anybody like got inspired, please hit us up, because literally it makes our day when it takes a lot. I don't think people realize how much work it takes, especially because we both work, to like edit and do all of this and find the time to even do it. So we will take any compliments as well. Please send us
Any and all
compliments.
compliments, please. 5 stars.
And on
Five
that note,
stars.
5 stars, 10 stars.
5 stars. Bye.
Bye.
Say you've come so far. You've overcome things you didn't think
I'm
you could
proud of you.
overcome. I'm proud of you. I love you. What else? Yeah,